Hi everybody, this is Miss Cox, and today we're going to take a look at the bookshelf project. It's pretty cool. We're going to be adding different books to our bookshelf, and we'll have different properties in them. So, for example, we have a title right now and the rating, but we can also add other details. The first thing it asks us to do is to make an array of books with at least two, and then basically create a loop so they are displayed. So to get started with this, we need to make an array. Right now, we just have an object here. We have one object. Instead, we're going to turn that into an array. So I've got my square bracket to start my array off with, and I'm going to end with a square bracket. So this is the first item. This is an object, the first object in my array. I put a comma. Actually, there's other ways to make this look a little more neat. So I'm going to try and make this a little more organized. So we've got this. The next one, let's make another one. Let's go with title. I'm going to go with, let's say Twilight. Twilight. Okay, put a comma, remember, because you have to put a comma between items in an object. And then stars, this time we'll go with 4 stars. Twilight was okay. People have different feelings. Did you guys read Twilight? No. Okay, there's no other votes, so we're going to go with 4. And I'll put one more book on here. Title, The Hunger Games, since we're reading that in one of my classes. And I'll give it 5 stars. Now, we have 3 different books added in. Now, this is not showing anything because we haven't told it, hey, this is now an array, and we have to deal with it as an array. Thank you. So now we have this array. We have 3 books in the array. One thing it does add, and I'm going to do this now, is it basically says you need to add a new property to each book. So instead of just having these 2 things, we need to add another property. So for my next property, I'm going to put down author. So I'll make an author section. But actually, I don't know the authors for these books. So I'm going to have to go and look it up. I think Stephanie Meyer is the author for Twilight. So what I'll need to do is I'm going to pause and go to Amazon real quick and find out the authors and spell their names correctly. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went to Amazon, found the authors, wanted to make sure I spelled their names correctly. And so now I've added those in, and you'll notice I put quotation marks around them. That's really important because, it won't recognize it as being text it's supposed to display otherwise. So now I have my array. I have 3 books in the array. Now I need to figure out how am I going to get it to draw. Well, right here, this draws the shelf. I probably don't need to do anything with that. I'm going to leave that alone. But this part says it draws 1 book. This is the part we're basically going to have to make a loop. So to start, we're going to use a for loop because I'm going to basically have it detect how many books are in here, and it will draw out enough for all of those books. So I'm going to put 4, and I'm going to use I as a counter. So I'm just going to use a variable I, var I, and we'll start by var I. We'll start that variable as being equal to 0. So basically, we're going to start the count at 0, and then we'll say we're going to do that until I is basically we're going to be looking at the length of the book variable, book length. So what we're doing is basically we're going to say, hey, you're going to do this until you basically overcome the amount of books we actually have. So this is what we're doing to set this up to actually allow it to repeat this only the number of times we have books in our array. And then lastly, how much do we want to increase the count by? We're going to increase by 1, so do I++, basically saying every time this repeats, we are going to have it go back and do it again until there's no more books left. So now that we have the loop, we need to then tell it what to do inside. So to start, we want it to draw, let's see, this is the color of the book. We've got this is the oh, this is the book rectangle, and then this is the color of the text, and then this is the text. So I'm gonna just actually move this all inside my new for loop. And I'll indent it so I can see what's going on. And it looks like it doesn't like it, so I'm gonna have to do some fixing in a minute here. The first thing is, book title is an issue, and this is probably also freaking out because it's, oh, this part's struggling. So let me actually just gray this out for now. So here, with the fill is good, this is all fine. So the text is the key, right? So the text is going to be book, but remember, these are arrays. So we want to put book and then bracket to tell it which one of the items in the array to use. So we're going to use our counter saying like, okay, well, if we're on the first one, you're going to use the first one's title. Okay? And then we'll leave these as they are for now. And then, let's see. What did I do? There we go. So now here's the good news. Good news is we got Hunger Games to print. Now, what's the problem? Why did the Hunger Games print and not the other stuff? Because I starts at 0, I is less than. I'm going to pause and try to figure out my mistake. Did you figure out why it wasn't working? Because I did. I figured out that basically it's repeating this loop, and basically it only is showing the last book because it's basically painting over and recreating the book every time in the same place. So I need to move the book. That way I can actually see these different versions. So instead of just saying build the rectangle here, we're going to move the X position over to the right. So let's say I want the X position to be, we have to base the X position now on the I variable, because that's how we're going to have it change. So let's say we're going to add 10 plus I times, I don't know, 50. Let's see what happens. Okay, so maybe that's not enough. We can see that they were still overlapping. How about 100? That kind of works. Okay. So let's say I times 100. And then we're going to have to do the same thing with the titles, because right now you can't really see the titles either. So I'm going to go here, and the X position, just like before, I'm going to put plus I times 100. Oh, there we go. Now I'm starting to get my books on the shelf looking like books. The last couple steps are figuring out how to, well, first you have to add this other piece, right? You need to add author. So I'm going to have to figure out another step here to do the text for the author. Book I dot author, comma, and then I'm going to have to, figure out the position for the author. So maybe I want it to be the same place, but just a little lower. So maybe lower would be like 50, maybe. And it doesn't quite work, and also it looks a little weird that they're the same size, so I might want to go back and change the text size. That would be something to adjust to make it look cooler. I'm going to sneeze again. I'm going to pause this time. Okay, sneezing is over. Now, the trickiest part at this point is this last piece that we grayed out. So let's see what happens here if I kind of make this part of the code again. Well, it doesn't like it. It doesn't like it because I have a bracket here and no end bracket for this section. So I need another end bracket. And it doesn't like that it's repeating this forever. So we need to do some work here. Book.stars, that's our problem. Remember, we need to put the brackets to say which instance is it, which number in the array. I'm going to put bracket I, just like I did before. And we're still having a problem, so let's see. So I'm saying so we're starting the counter at I. If I is less than the number of stars, because basically we're having it create the stars over and over. And our problem actually is that we're using the same variable. See how we have variable I equals 0, and then again variable I equals 0? This makes it a little weird because this time we're counting something different. We're counting the stars and not the books. So I'm actually going to change the variable. Let's make it a different variable. I'll just make it A. Actually, I'll make it S for stars. So I've got var S equals 0. S is less than book I, and then we're going to increase S each time. Oh, and now the stars have popped back up. And now here's the difference. The issue we have is, first off, this needs to be S. And the other issue is, this needs to move over, right? This has to move over for each book. So the X position here, this is the X position. Let's see what happens if I adjust it. Okay, so that moves the X position around, but it doesn't change it for each instance. So this is the trickiest part. You need to go back and use your I variable, which is counting the books. And so we're going to add that here to the X position, I times 100. And what you'll see is you will get your different stars to move over beautifully, and they all line up now. Now, I think the things at this point that need to be fixed, I would probably want to make the stars smaller because they don't quite fit if you do 5 stars, or maybe you just need to change your review to only have 4 stars and 3. Maybe change those. That looks better. And you might want to adjust your fonts or your sizes of text because the author is usually a little smaller than the title of the book. But hopefully this is helpful. You can change the colors. I've seen some students do like multiple rows of bookshelf. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this. You can change the size of the books. You can make each book a different color. So have fun with this, but hopefully this was helpful as you got started. Thank you.